Hello, my friends. Katie Day with the Moving to Texas team down here in Houston, Texas, with Stephen Kim Holmes for another episode of the Real Advice Podcast. I am really, really excited, as I am every week, but this week I am super excited
So
for
excited.
this week's guest. If you're not following her on social media, you should. She's consistently putting out great information, not only for real estate professionals, but consumers as well. Successfully built out real estate empires in both Idaho and California. In the real estate world, she's known as a fantastic speaker, realtor, and a no-nonsense coach that's full of great information and actionable items to better systematize your business. If you think you've got good systems, you've probably never met her. So please join me in welcoming Yvonne Arnold.
Yay!
Wow, that was a fantastic intro. I don't know if it inspires, but hey.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, Super Coach, thank you for making time out of your busy schedule to chat with us and share your incredible nuggets of wisdom and knowledge. So, Coach Yvonne, for the select few people who don't know who you are, can you give us kind of the Coles notes of how you got your start, who you are, and where you are now?
Sure. First off, thank you for having me, you guys. This is amazing. Being on with Katie Day and Stephen Kim is kind of like, that's a milestone for me as well. So very excited.
You're too kind.
And so, you know, it's funny. I think I did an interview with Bill Pipes called Real Success on YouTube several years back. And when I explained to him what my background was, he said, "You were the original ISA." And I said, probably, because when I was 14 years old in 1978, my brother was 14 years older than me. He came back from the Air Force and opened up a brokerage. And so I would walk to his office from school, 14 years old, and I was his secretary. Wow. So I literally went to the office after school around 2:00 in the afternoon, and I would my job was to cut the ads out of the newspapers and the green sheets, tape them to the notebook, and then answer the phones. And so I would answer the phones and say, you know, Icona Realty, how can I help you? And then they'd say, "I'm looking for an agent." "Great. What are you calling from?" "Oh, we're looking at the Press Enterprise." I'd make a tick mark next to Press Enterprise to track where it was coming from. And then I'd push that call over to the agent that was on floor.
Nice.
So that was 14 years old, hence to say I'm 57 now. So I've been around a long time. I think I've got Glenda Baker beat as being in long enough since he was a baby.
You just need to come up with a tagline like that, you know?
Right,
like, you're like, I've probably been selling real estate longer, but.
So that was the beginning. And then I didn't go to college, graduated and started right in escrow. And so I was a escrow secretary in California and 17 years old, 17 and a half, went into title insurance, became the #1 title rep in our market for a couple of companies, Orange Coast Title Local and a First American Title National Company. And I did that for about 12 years. Got my real estate license in 1988 and started selling a little bit, went back to title. And so I've been through two major crashes, the 1990s California crash, aerospace industry went out, and I call it the 2007 crash because we started seeing foreclosure properties assignments come into our inbox in about June of 2007 before anybody really knew what was going on. And then now, you know, boom and bust markets. And so systematizing is kind of my thing. I never realized I had as much, I don't know, tech or analytical side of me until the last probably 10 years when we, in 2000 and I want to say around 2009, our broker at the time was one of the first ones that said, you have to be paperless, you know, submit all your stuff online in a thumb drive. At Remax, and then we'll pay you. So we were forced to go paperless around 2009. And
you figured that one out real quick.
Yeah.
I'm getting paid then.
Yeah. And then after that, we had so many startup companies, tech companies coming at us in that era. It was really interesting to be seeing all these startups. I mean, it was nuts, the products and the tech that was coming at us. And I had a really good affiliated member, a title rep, who is still my title representative now in California, who was on that cutting edge, and she would just bring me stuff. And I would use myself as a guinea pig. I was coaching for Tom. I started coaching for him in 2009. And I used myself as a guinea pig, being an active realtor still. And one day I went, enough. I'm done with these startup companies. I'm done with these tech companies just wanting my monthly VIG money. And I put a big whiteboard up and I started crossing off what I wasn't going to use and started going deep in the ones I use. Yeah. And that caused me to become the systems and processes coach for Tom Ferry.
Wow.
Kind of became your thing. I like it.
Yeah. So when you're right, Katie, when you say, if you think you have systems, you probably never talk to Yvonne.
Yeah.
This is where I kind of get out of the frame in the video.
I want to see your outline, Stephen, for those videos that you are so powerful in. I want that SOP, please.
Done and done.
It's up here though. Is that a problem?
Yeah, it's a huge problem.
I'm kidding. He actually has Trello boards or whatever. But anyways, I do want to get to systems, but first I kind of want to talk about the practical side of your business and practitioner side of your business. So, you've built businesses in Idaho and in California. What prompted the branch out and kind of move of markets?
Great question. So I left title in 1994 and went to work with, I had met my husband. He was one of my customers. He was a realtor. I had a policy, by the way, never to date my clients. And so I caved. He won me over. So in 1993, we started dating. We bought a house together after 6 months of dating. And then it was in the middle of the market crash in 1993, 94. And I was tired of corporate. And so I quit my job, my cushy little, really great income job with a company credit card and a company gas card and all that stuff. And like an idiot, went to work as a realtor.
Makes perfect sense.
Right? And completely dug at the time, a $90,000 salary job hole that I didn't have that salary coming in anymore. And so we hustled, and his mother is going to be 80 this year. And so she actually was the matriarch and the mentor that I had. And then John had learned from her. And so they were my mentors. They were the people I learned real estate from in the 90s. And what caused us to really do it was, when you see a bunch of deals in the 90s pass you by because you're not set up with money, you're not set up to buy anything, you're just struggling to, keep doing deals. And we said, we're never going to be in that position again. And so what happened was, the market got better in California, things started to change, and we started just stashing and stockpiling cash. And when we tell you that, when Tom says that, I'm a living, breathing example of listening. And my husband's super conservative. That's a nice word. I say he's cheap, but frugal, conservative, very bottom line oriented, big analytical. Okay. I call him the wizard behind the curtain because I'm the front man and he works the stuff behind the curtain. And so we saved our money and we were prepared then to do some stuff. So when the next change of the market happened in 2000, we were mostly in California, in fact, all in California, and doing probably about, during the crash of the 90s, we were doing about 200 transactions a year as a team. And then that was a family team because teams weren't heard of then. And then when markets started getting better, we kind of did our own thing. So then we do about 40, 50 deals a year. REOs were gone. My husband went up in 2003 with my brother-in-law to go check out a place called Sandpoint, Idaho. And we had been looking in Whitefish, Montana, because that's where my sister and brother-in-law had raised their boys, and they came back to California after the boys were graduated. And so that place had just boomed. It had gone too high of a price. We couldn't afford it. So Sandpoint's on the same latitude, just a different state. And so he went up there and he came back, and I had never been to this place. And it was January and he had a big grin on his face. And I go, he's in his baseball cap and his camo jacket. And I'm like, what the heck, you know? And he's got a big grin. I go, what'd you do? He goes, we made 10 offers and got 7. And I'm like, holy shit, we're moving to Idaho.
Wow.
And I had never been there. He then takes me up there in March and I'm driving around with him in this place. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? First off, March in Idaho is ugly. Otherwise, it's beautiful in Idaho, but it's ugly. It's breakup. If you don't know snow areas, breakup is like when spring hasn't happened yet, winter is done, and
that's just Toronto, right?
I can attest to that, Coach. Yes, exactly. Ugly. Ugly.
Dirty snow. There's no leaves on the trees. It's gray and rainy still, and it's mud season, right?
Yes.
And so, and all I saw, and I'm not against churches, I'm a Christian, but all I saw was churches and I didn't see any country western bars. And I'm like, wait, I need a country western bar, okay? I can go to church, but I don't need churches on every corner. And so no, hang in there, stay in for the payoff, right? So we ended up buying property and we ended up doing stuff there. And it ended up becoming, we thought it was going to be my happy place, which it was, and it still is, but it became another job. It was another place. And so I have some experience in doing 2 markets and I get asked that a lot. So I get a lot of private conversations about, hey, I want to break into a second market. What should I do? And the first thing I say is you better have a really great system and processes and people system in your main market you're already in. So, because then I had the second crash came and I had to go through 2007 and 8. And I had to leave my happy place and go back to Riverside, Corona, California, in the 4th largest depressed area of the crash, global crash. We were the number 4 area for distressed properties in the nation. And so in 2011, well, we did 100 transactions a year of REO. And then 2011, when the lawsuit happened, there was no equity sellers and there was no more foreclosures for us to do in our market. So in 2011, I did 42 short sales in 2011 and 2012.
Wow.
And so I had to systematize that and I had to leave my happy place of Idaho and not think about it anymore. And then I had to revise how I was going to do it because people started thinking we were moving. My past clients weren't calling me.
Yeah.
They were like, well, you're gone. We see you posting on social media. You're happy to Idaho. And so I'm very strategic now about my postings. So when you talk about social media posting, I'm strategic. I don't tell everybody where I am or when I'm there.
So you mentioned it briefly of like one of the things that when people reach out to you on the double market thing or changing markets or whatever it may be, like that you need to have market 1 down and the processes down and all that. What would be some other things? You know, we've talked to Adriana Pickard, Carrie Emery is another one, like, so people that are doing the same thing. Or
first.
I'm aware. I know. But what would be some other things like actionable items, like make sure you do this type stuff?
So the very first thing you have to do is you have to understand that you can do listings from anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's number 1. You also have to have the confidence that your database is your primary source of those listings. And so the sellers, consumers in my mind don't really care where you are if you are confident in what you do for a living. If you know real estate and you know you're going to get them what they want. It's what do they want? Get it for them, right?
Yeah.
So number 1 is understand you need to learn. And that's where Tom kind of he came out to the coaches when we had COVID hit and we had the whole lockdown of the world. He said to the coaches, anybody on our Facebook group, anybody ever done virtual listing presentations? And I'm like, been doing them for like 5 years, and we were doing through FaceTime, but that's why I was out there on that first presentation of that, because I had to overcome in my head that the consumer doesn't care if I'm in front of them. They want to know what they want to know, and can I do it for them? So I had to come up with that plan and that process of being able to do it from afar. Then I realized I needed boots on the ground. So I was never one to want it. We'd had the family team and we'd had, outside family members, non-family members become team members and that kind of thing. But I never built the team like you guys are building now that everybody's watching right now. It was never my desire. My husband and I had no desire to do that.
Yeah.
However, I call ours an unorthodox team. I have boots on the ground in both states now. They are there specifically to do specific action items. Last night, I did a virtual presentation from La Quinta, California, to 2 hours away in Corona, California, to my past client for a listing.
Mm-hmm.
My boots on the ground, my partner is Jim Powell, who is coached by Aaron Chuha. He's in elite coaching. I do not coach my own people. Okay. It's like doing a tandem bike or a kayak with your husband. Okay. So
I just don't paddle on the
right?
in the kayak. I just don't paddle. You do the work. We'll get there.
Okay, so you're less of a driver than I am. I'm like this, row, so
I may still be doing that, but anyways, we digress. We digress.
So basically, Jim goes to the presentation. He takes all of my product, my CMA, my listing presentation, all of that with him. And then he walks me through on now Zoom, and I do a walkthrough, and I'm going, show me that stucco. Is there a crack in that wall? What's going on over there? Is that a broken window? We need to fix that before we list. The seller's listening to me do that. It's actually a more intense review of the house than you would if you were in public and with them.
Yeah.
Then basically he sits me up in the iPad on the table. So I had Mr. and Mrs. Vieira in front of me with their 3 sons, and they're in their 70s, and they're looking at me on Zoom, and they don't speak very good English, they're Portuguese. So the boys were translating, and it went perfectly. And so I just talk to them and do all of that online. And then Jim gets me what I need signed, and he scans it in, and I handle the rest.
Also, like, not only were you not there in person, like, then also, there's language barriers. There's, age, like that's crazy.
Yeah. It's our own limiting beliefs, the agent's own limiting belief that the consumer won't do it that way. They have to see me. I have to be in person. I've got to be there. No.
So that touches upon a question we get asked a lot as Katie and I are, we're building teams, we're in accelerated growth. It's when you, on the onset of building the team, it's like, yeah, but they want me. And if they don't get me, then I can't grow, and I'm limited because I can only do 50, 100 deals, and I'm getting inundated with business, but everyone needs me. What do you tell people, especially the team leads listening right now? What do you tell them? What's the harsh dose of medicine around that objection?
I'll try not to cuss.
No, cuss. Like everyone cusses on the show.
F over it. I mean, seriously, that's an ego talking.
Perfect. I love that you said that.
Okay, and I ego is interesting. I'm a 9-year. I studied Iyengar yoga for 9 years at the University of California, Riverside. It was the only university study program for Iyengar yoga in the country.
So, Yvonne, can we just digress for a second? What is that?
Iyengar yoga was created by BKS Iyengar. That's his last name.
Okay.
And he is one of the world's renowned yogis and gurus. And so you know of Bikram hot yoga?
Yeah.
Well, BKS Iyengar came long before Bikram. And what they say about Iyengar, it's a method of yoga that most of the Ashtanga hot yoga style practitioners come to an Iyengar instructor to fix their body because they get hurt in the other products, and they come to an Iyengar instructor to fix what they hurt.
Wow. Okay. Amazing. I just learned something. That's awesome.
So when in those studies, and why I kind of relate this to that is because ego is not a bad thing. What I learned in yoga is you need ego. Ego is your confidence and all of that. It's when ego runs amok and you allow it to take over is when you hurt yourself and those around you. Okay. And so we see it a lot in our industry. Somebody's having a really great year and they're pumping out the deals. Well, right now there's a lot of people doing that. And guess what an old timer like me thinks? Okay. How much of the credit are you giving the market? Because this ain't all about you, right? The market is giving you those deals. And will you be able to sustain the same number of transactions you're doing now or more when the market shifts? Well, you will if you calm your ego down right now and you actually dive deep into systems and dive deep into how do you duplicate what you're doing right now in a market that shifts on you? How do you continue to do things the way that the consumer wants it? And, everybody talks about this consumer experience. So what I said in my webinar last Friday, the tech companies are taking over because they put the consumer first. They wanted to know how are they going to retrain the consumer, because they have done that in a mass level. It's scary almost. But also they listen to, what does consumer want? Quick and easy and free, right? They want to be able to do it from their phone. They want to be able to do it. And then they need somebody to open the door for them, because a house is a house where you live, right? So now they don't have much respect for the realtor because they think you just open a door. That's because the realtors haven't spent enough time in their own cocoon of people and contacts to make the customer experience amazing. And you can only do that by making the system behind the scenes happen without you being the center of the cog in the wheel, right? And realtors, that's their ego talking. So if you get your ego out of the way and you start saying, hey, this worked really well, I'm going to build out this and go deep in it, and people are going to realize it. And then they're going to come back to me because they know that. And that's my clientele now. It's 30 years of past clients. I do no advertising. Okay. And I do 25 to 30 deals a year in 2 states from just people recommending me and my referrals of past clients. And that's fine with me. I'm 57. I got a 3-year exit strategy that I'm planning out right now. So.
I like it. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it in any way. So, obviously we talked a little bit about, you being known for systems. It's come up multiple times during this conversation. So, in helping people create SOPs and helping people, actually implement systems into their business, and find, operational excellence or whatever we want to call it. If someone was just getting into real estate, I just got my license today, what would be the 3 things that you would tell them that they need to implement in their first, 30, 60, 90 days, but they're the first 3 things they need to implement?
The very first thing that they have to know is, yes, our phones are lovely things. They're little miniature computers, but you cannot run a business from this piece of device. If you try to, stuff falls through the cracks really fast. Okay. So the first thing you have to set up is you have to have a place where you're going to build that database, that I call it the Rolodex on steroids.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that.
The Rolodex on steroids can be anything. There's so many products out there. Get yourself a tech system. No longer can realtors continue to work from, I love the old Covey calendar books. Okay. I grew up on them. I grew up on the title company handing you a calendar book at the beginning of the year and a calendar desktop, right? And I loved it. It's very visual. However, you have to have a system that they're in, whether it's, and it's cheap. There's cheap ones out there. You can get Realty Juggler still, I think, maybe $100 or $120 a year. I mean, that's $10 a month. Okay.
Yeah.
To house your people, because you have to have a place to put those people. It can't be in a notebook anymore. So that's number 1 system. And you don't just get it and set it and forget it. You literally have to be in it.
Yes, coach.
Flipping.
I already had my coaching call this week, but I feel like I
honestly, this is like a coaching session right now. I just have
my anxiety. Do you ever have those coaching calls where your anxiety just comes up your body as the call continues? Okay.
This is not a podcast session. This is this is a full coaching session.
30-minute coaching call. I'll send you the bill.
Yeah. I can't afford you.
Neither can I.
So basically when you have that, you now have a place. Okay. And I always tell people, I call it the Rolodex on steroids, because you're going to add products to that as you grow. But that's the first place you go. And I have a question for you, Stephen. Stephen, I'm on your team. I need a plumber for one of my buyers that we're getting ready to close escrow on. I'm going to call you because you're my team lead. Where's the plumber's phone number?
We have a trades and service directory, Yvonne, that we send out to every one of our clients and every one of our team members have.
Great. How do you do that?
What do you mean? How do we do it?
directory housed?
Yeah, so we have it in the G drive, and we have a physical copy. The physical copy goes out to our clients,
Like a
and
physical copy on a piece of paper?
no, it's actually in a booklet.
Oh,
We
it's in a
give,
book.
yeah, so every homeowner that purchases a property, we give them a welcome home package, and in there is our trades and services directory in a bound booklet.
Okay, this buyer hasn't closed escrow yet.
Okay.
How does the agent on your team get the plumber's phone number that you recommend to use because you like them and they do a good job?
Go to the Team G drive, pull up the trades and services
So
manual,
I
and it's
on your
all there.
team have to go to the Team G drive for that.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, what if I have collaborative access to that G drive and I get in there and I start clicking around shit and I erase everything?
You don't have collaborative access. You have view only access.
Okay. So what I just described is I was testing, right?
Did I pass?
You
I'm
did
like
pass,
sweating. I'm
you
sweating.
but you made one mistake, and I'll tell you what it is in a minute.
Yeah.
So you passed because you have the place for them to go. Usually what I get an answer is well, it's in my phone. They just text me and I send it to them.
No.
Oh, so when you're on a beach in the Bahamas, your agent needs a plumber and you got to be interrupted on the beach in the Bahamas, or who knows, maybe the time zone's wrong. Okay. So this is where you had the right answer. You have a place it's housed. However, I'll take it one step further.
Please.
The agent in a transaction on a team for the value proposition of paying you 50% of their commission, in some cases now more, should never have to go into a G drive to find a plumber. They're in escrow on a transaction. You have the value prop of giving that associate on your team a transaction coordinator, that they basically just send a message to the transaction coordinator and say, please reach out to my buyer on this transaction, and give them the name and phone number of our plumber. Because now that's the huge value proposition of why agents would want to be on your team.
Love it. Love it.
Can we go now?
All right. Well, everyone have a great day, great night, wherever you are listening, watching. I think that's amazing.
This is where, again, it's just a process. And if you can we're all about people. Our business is people business. It's why Zillow screwed up so bad, because they took the people out. And I always relate it to this, and you guys will get a little history lesson here. Do you know why we crashed in 2008, 2007? Do you know the basis of why we crashed? Anybody?
Wasn't it that everyone essentially was just over leveraging everything in their life?
But let me tell you why they could do it. A bunch of young guys on Wall Street got together, and between them and the lending institutions and the government decided, open up loans to everybody. Make it easy to get a loan. No qualifying. We call them ninja loans, right? No income, no job, no asset. Well, what happened is once those loans were now on the books, now all of a sudden, guess what happened? Wall Street got wind of it and went, oh, we've got some bad products. We're going to repackage them, which would normally be A paper. We're going to take a bunch of B and C paper, triple B paper. We're going to put it in a tranche. We're going to repackage it, make it really pretty, and we're going to sell it to the world, in the global world, as A paper. So go back and watch the Short, whatever that movie's called. It's a good explanation of it, The Big Short. Yeah. And so when you have these tranches and they get sold, now all of a sudden you have fake product being sold on the open market. Do you know what those guys at Wall Street, those young guys who'd never had real life experience on Wall Street yet, they were just doing algorithmic stuff. They didn't take into consideration the human aspect. What happens when somebody loses their job, gets a divorce, gets sick, gets cancer? They stop making their house payment. They assumed that the house payments would just continue to be made. They weren't. So it crashed the market. Now what happens? Now you get fast forward, Zillow has an algorithm. Now they want to take the realtor and the people experience, and they want to make a tech system on how to evaluate a house and then go in and buy that house. They created a great, interesting product of algorithm of pricing. However, they took the people out of the equation. that human aspect in the equation got taken out. And guess what? They didn't take into consideration that houses are people houses. I walk into a house, one house on a street, it's spectacular. I go next door, it's a shithole. Okay. And as a realtor, I got to know that information.
Yeah.
The computer algorithm doesn't know that. And they didn't have any people out there checking that. So now they bought a bunch of houses $100,000 overpriced, and now they're ditching it and their stock went in the tank.
Jeez.
Okay. So you guys, this is where systems come into play and we have people involved. So when we look at that in our own world of real estate agents, how are we building businesses that are real businesses? Because I tell everybody, if you don't want to build a business, I'm good with that. You as an agent and one assistant can make a really great living and save your money and be conservative in your expenses, and you're going to have a great life. You will be wealthy because you can do that in our business. But if you want to build it so that it continues to pay you like a business, without you being the person that has to do all the work, you have to build out the system. What do I do right now that I need to transfer over to somebody else, but I have to be able to write it out and tell them how to do it? Because if I let them do it themselves, it's going to go out the window. You let somebody get in your Google Drive for a plumber's phone number. Now all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm going to take that phone number and create my own Google Drive number. Okay. Now it's not your proprietary system as the Stephen Kim Homes Group or the Katie Day Move Me to Texas group. You have proprietary systems that you're building. And that's what the value prop is for you to build that business.
We bring it all the way back to systems again. Always, always, always. Which I love. Right? That's all it is. I love it. I love I love the dedication, the commitment, the execution, especially.
Yeah,
which is amazing.
I'm about quality of life. Okay. Everyone goes, thank you for opening up your schedule of time. Yeah, I keep my schedule pretty full, like, all that. But boy, do I get my time off. Now I know exactly how much I want to do, how much I need to do, how much I should do. Okay. So when an opportunity like this comes up, I'm open because my sign on the door says open for opportunities like that. Everybody's always too busy running around like a chicken with their head cut off. They're missing and they're not open to opportunities, and they're missing some pretty good opportunities.
Wow. Love it. I love it.
All right. I'll hit you with the hard-hitting question. We've got one final question for you. If it was your last meal on earth, what would you be eating?
Oh my God, that is the hardest question. Because I'm a foodie. Holy cow. My last meal on earth.
Are we stumping the super coach? I think so. Wow.
So I'm into experiences as well when it comes to food.
Okay.
So I would probably think about one of the best experiences when eating food. Because to me, food, and we are talking about food, right?
Yeah.
This is not okay. So food to me is, I grew up Italian, half French. Okay. So hence the red hair, but the talk with your hands thing. So our house was very lively and everything was about food. We'd be eating dinner at night, and right there at dinner that night, my dad would say, "What are we having tomorrow night, Jerry, for dinner?" to my mom.
Nice.
So it was always planning ahead. So maybe that's where I got my time management thing. But food was always an experience. In your households, I don't know, did you?
Yeah.
Food?
Same.
You're from Asian descent. I know food is a big thing.
Huge.
So same with ours. So I go experience. So experiences to me, like my husband and I always tell a story about going to Barcelona. So we did a 13-day cruise of the Mediterranean, Italy, Spain, all that. And we started in Barcelona. We got there 3 nights ahead of time. And so our friends weren't coming in till the next night. So we asked our concierge at the hotel, what's the best restaurant? They sent us to this place called Botafumeiro. We would have never found it. It was a hole in the wall, one door. You never guessed where it was. Walk into this little hallway with fish tanks on each side.
Nice.
Lobster and crab in both tanks. Walk further in, and there's a bar with linen tablecloths on the bar, and guys in bow ties and tuxes behind the bar, servers, and it opened up to this 2-story restaurant that was amazing. Okay. They sat us up in the 2 stories and there was nobody in there. Well, it was like 7 o'clock. Come to be known, not be known to us. They don't eat until 9 o'clock at night.
Too early. Too early.
Too early. We thought, oh, we've been screwed. We're like tourists. They're sending us to the worst place in town. No, this was amazing. So the experience there, that would be one of my all-time favorites. And I'd say I'd want to go back to Botafumeiro. We had squid ink black rice.
Wow.
Had barnacles. They brought out the whole sea bass fish and let us look at the clearness of the eyes.
Wow.
We got to say how many kilograms we wanted of that. So experience, I go for experiences. Same things have happened to us in Italy. So when I say, what's the best meal? I'd be like this. Well, where can I go and eat it?
I like it.
Experience with the good field food, because there's a ton of good food out there. I can't name just one item.
I love it. I love it. I think that's crazy. I even wrote it down, Botafumeiro. So
Botafumeiro.
I love it. I love it. Well, Super Coach, we just want to say thank you so much for your valuable time. I know everyone watching and listening has just been writing copious amounts of notes, which is incredible. If you don't know that Coach is about systems and processes, but now you should now. For the select few people who don't know where to follow you, Yvonne, where should they go? Where should we be setting them?
The best place to follow me at, by the way, on Facebook, don't try and friend me. I won't take your friend. Okay? I don't need 18.
She's got a system of how she friends people on social media. Okay.
I really do. And friend to me means something. So I would have had to have a conversation with you like this in person or somehow before I ever friend you on Facebook. Okay.
Love it.
However, go to my Instagram. It's Yvonne Arnold _. Okay, at Yvonne Arnold _. That is my business profile, and that's where you'll see me the most. It's where I interact the most, and there. And you'll see a few videos and things like that. But I leave that to you young kids. You're doing so great at those reels. I love watching all of you, and occasionally I will throw one out there. But yeah, I got other things to do. Don't tell Tom Ferry.
We say that a lot. We say that a lot. Hashtag don't tell Tom,
Hashtag
yeah. So that's it. Yvonne Arnold _ Instagram is the best place. And then also, if you're in the Tom Ferry ecosystem, if you're a coaching client watching this, because I know you have a lot of followers for that, you guys. Last Friday, I did a webinar that was only locked down to a certain group of people that, because they were on the live event, now they felt they could open it up. And it is now in on demand, and it's called Executing the Plan. It's a 1-hour webinar, and I highly recommend that y'all watch it, those of you in the Tom Ferry ecosystem coaching clients, because you'll get a lot of more of what I talked about here today in there.
Awesome.
Love it. Love it.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Awesome.
See you later.
Enjoy your day.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.